You know, there's something about opening up a present that's exhilarating. Like, I know you guys don't like to open up presents, right? You do? Of course. Who doesn't like to open up a present? And I think you don't. No, that's not true. I don't believe it. I think what makes a present so exhilarating is the surprise. It's the surprise. And even if you kind of know what it is from picking it up and jiggling it and hearing what's inside, there's still that excitement that it might not be that thing and it might be something else. Not knowing, being surprised, having that unexpected feeling is exhilarating. And it's something that we really enjoy for the most part. But the trick is, again, in order for the surprise to be a gift, it has to be kind of unexpected. It has to be something unexpected. You know, now that my brothers and sisters have their own children, and my parents have their grandchildren, I don't get presents like I used to anymore. So I've forgotten what it is to open up a present and be surprised by it. I'm not saying, my mom is watching Livestream, that's why I want to make her feel bad. In all honesty though, one of the reasons why I love being Christian is that Christianity is something like a surprise. It's something that you couldn't have expected. Christianity isn't something that someone just all of a sudden imagined and came up with and invented. It's a sort of thing that you just could not have made up. It's filled with surprises from the beginning to the end. God is a God of surprises. He loves to meet us in the unexpected ways, unexpected places, and in unexpected people. Our message, our story, our faith, friends, is filled with surprises. Beginning today with today's story, the birth of a baby who is called the Son of God, Jesus Christ. Today, friends, we celebrate the most incredible, the most awe-inspiring, the most wonderful surprise that God has ever ordained in all of human history. But the sad reality is that most of the world seems to have lost its ability to be surprised by God. We've lived our lives almost sort of numb to the surprises that God tries to give us day in and day out. We're surprised by God's working so very infrequently. And it's something that kind of is like this, right? So you have this beautiful elderly couple, and they're in the front porch one night, and the old man, he's overcome with the romance of the evening. And he says to his hard-of-hearing wife, "I'm proud of you." Huh? "I'm proud of you." "Well, I'm tired of you too," she says. You see, often the case is that over time, the more familiar we become with a story, the less fascinating that story seems to be. We get tired of things very quickly. Things that once fascinated us, now they bring little emotion. A young person gets a new gadget, and within a couple of weeks, it's back on the shelf unused. Maybe you get a new car, and within 6 months, it loses its new car smell, and you're looking for something new. We have this saying that's familiarity breeds contempt. But I think familiarity really breeds indifference. Friends, this can happen during Christmas as well. And it happens so often with our faith. We've heard this story over and over again. And the wonder that it's meant to endure, that it's meant to stir up in us, the wonder that happened over 2,000 years ago, it diminishes little by little. It fails to do for us what we hope it should do spiritually. That old story has become just that old story. A few years ago, Pope Francis said something that really stuck with me regarding this gospel. And he shared this with the faithful, and I want to share it with you. He said this regarding Christmas. Make space for wonder and surprise this Christmas. The first Christmas had many surprises, including that God came into the world as a tiny baby. If we want to live Christmas, we must open our heart and be willing to receive surprises. I love that. If we want to live Christmas, we must open our hearts and be willing to receive surprises. Friends, I invite you to open your hearts this Christmas. I invite you to open your hearts so that you can be willing to receive at least one surprise. And it's this. Look for God where you least expect to find Him. That's the one surprise among many that I hope you're open to this Christmas. Look for God where you least expect to find Him. You know, it's so fascinating how our gospel, the story, begins. It begins by evoking the most wealthiest, the most powerful person at that time, Caesar Augustus. The story begins by bringing him into the mix, the emperor of Rome. And then Luke, he mentions another power player. He says Quirinius of Syria. Here's the surprise. We quickly see as we get into the story that they're not the main characters. You would expect that if God were to appear, He would have gone to Caesar Augustus or to Quirinius, the power players, the ones who had the influence and the wealth and the prestige. The first surprise that God gives us in the gospel is that they're not the main players. They're actually secondary characters in the story. As the story unfolds, we see who the main characters are. They're the reluctant innkeepers. They're the lowly and low-class shepherds to whom the angels appeared. They're an ordinary couple, young, finding themselves pregnant unexpectedly, wandering the wilderness, Mary and Joseph with a little baby on the way. Friends, what does this show us? It shows us the implications of the incarnation. It shows us where we are to find God in our lives. And where is it? It's often where you least expect. The story shows us that God is found in the simplest, most ordinary, most unexpected things, the things that we often take for granted. We want God to impress upon us something extraordinary, a mountain sort of top experience, but God doesn't work that way. He prefers to work in the ordinary, in the unexpected, in humility and forgiveness, in our families and in our relationships, in the smile of a stranger, in the gentle touch and the embrace of a loved one, in the reaching out to somebody who really needs it, in the person who reaches out to us when we really need it, and most especially, brothers and sisters, in the Eucharist that we're going to celebrate this evening. In an ordinary piece of bread, God gives us Himself to feast upon. So as we go back into the world and we prepare to begin a new year, I'd like to leave you with the words that the angels shared with the shepherds in the field at Bethlehem. Do not be afraid. You know, those are the words that are repeated in the Bible more than any other words. Do not be afraid. And for good reason. Because we ought not be afraid to be surprised by the wonder of an unexpected God, who shows us His presence and His love where we least expect to find Him. Don't be afraid to be surprised by the wonder of the unexpected God, who shows us that true power, true greatness is found in self-giving, sacrificing love. Friends, May the God of surprises bless you and your loved ones this Christmas. Don't be afraid. Look for him because he's looking for you. God bless you and Merry Christmas.